2022 has been an interesting year for investors, to say the least. We knew that a recession was going to be coming. We just didn't expect it to come as quickly as it did. And unfortunately, we're only in the month of May in 2022, and we've seen the S&P 500 drop over 1,000 points, and some of your biggest investments are already down 50%, with more correction continuing to occur. And what they're saying is we could see the stock market go down another 20 or 30%.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
Before it hits those lows that we're ultimately expecting. And if you're new to investing, this correction that we've seen over the past 5 months can be a humbling experience, because over the past 5 years, we've seen highs in the stock market, in the crypto market, and the real estate market. And it seemed like no matter what you threw your money at, you were going to continue to make money. And unfortunately, I'm one of those people who got a little humbled for this 2022 correction, with more humbling to come. And so what I want to talk about in today's video is the top 3 things I've learned in 2022 so far. But before we get into it, make sure that you smash that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification, because I am always dropping new content surrounding money, in specific money news, how to invest, and ultimately just kind of teach you the ins and outs to help you become successful in your investing journey. But let's go ahead and talk about this humbling 2022 so far. The first big lesson that I've learned so far in 2022 is to pull healthy profits. This is something that I'm really starting to learn now more than ever, because I saw my investments back off 60 and 70% in some cases. And I think about what could have happened if I would have pulled profits along the way and taken my 20, 30, even 40 or 50% gains and just pulled them to save for a time when I could rebuy back in. And so unfortunately, what I'm having to go through right now is, since I did not pull profits, and really I expected the market to continue rising. So since I incorrectly read this market, I'm now having to keep my money into my investment. Because now is the worst time for anybody to pull. So unfortunately, what's going to happen in this scenario is I'm going to have to leave that money into those investments and try to recover from those 50, 60, 70% losses. And if you're pulling healthy profits along the way, you can wait the 2, 3, 4, 5 years for that investment to get back up to where it was, and continue to make more and more money as you're buying back in a little bit at a time. In this case, I now have to transition, and instead of buying during the time that these investments have gone down, I'm having to leave that money in there and recover that 40, 50, and 60% that I'm down from those investments. So this has been a big lesson for me, is really understanding these market cycles and understanding that I can't be greedy in times of these market highs, because my thought process was, these are great investments right now, especially the crypto sector where I was heavily invested. These are great investments and I only see them rising. So why would I pull my money now when I'm up 40, 50, 60% and ultimately just leave it in there and allow it to continue to grow, when I could not be greedy and pull my 20, 30, 40% profits while leaving my initial investment in there. And now I would have more money to invest during these times of this market correction that we're seeing now. So this has been a big lesson for me, is really understanding that when you have profits, don't get greedy. Don't go chase the 30, 40, 50%. Take your 20%, take your 30%, and be happy with that, and keep that side bag, so when the market does ultimately correct, I can continue to buy and ultimately increase the amount that I can invest down the road. The second big piece of information that I really gained and that really humbled me here in 2022 is not to buy when the markets have hit all-time highs. When I started investing back in 2019, the market was only going up. Everything that I was throwing money at, the Teslas, the oil companies, the cryptos, even my house that I bought now, everything seemed to have been going up, and they were reaching marks that we've never seen before. And in my thought process, I saw what was happening in the economy, and I thought to myself, if we're recovering from the current pandemic and everything was shutting down, ultimately people are going to keep funneling money into this economy. Therefore, these all-time highs that we're seeing in 2020 and 2021, they're only going to continue moving forward. So my thought process was continue to buy these all-time highs because they'll only continue to go up. And that ideology, I couldn't be further away from the truth from, because the investors that tend to lose the most money are the ones that FOMO in. And if you're not familiar with FOMO, that's fear of missing out. And I really look at this from a standpoint of my crypto investing. I was buying into crypto when Bitcoin was at $60,000. And I wasn't just buying the Bitcoins and ETHs. I was buying the altcoins too. I was buying the Algorands. I was buying deep altcoins like gaming projects like UFO gaming and things like that. And these altcoins, since the correction has started, have taken a massive hit. And so I was taking bigger risks, thinking to myself, even though this market is high right now, it's only going to continue to go higher. And although Bitcoin is still a pretty safe investment right now, even though it's down around the $30,000 mark, some of these altcoins that I was dumping thousands of dollars into, I may never see that initial investment back. So this was another big lesson for me, is not to FOMO into these projects when they're at all-time highs. Really wait to see if they leave their mark on the industry. And if they leave their mark on the industry, then you can get into these projects. But that was another major lesson, because right now I may never see that money back from these projects that I ultimately went into, and I'll learn my lesson down the road. I want to make a correction on that last part. I'm not learning my lesson down the road. I'm learning it now, but also investing is never a perfect game. You're always learning something. So that was a big lesson for me in the crypto world, but also something that I'm going to have to carry with through my stock market investing, my real estate investing, all of this stuff. So I wanted to make that small little correction. And then lastly, research, and research. Through this past year, I've been investing into projects that I've done very little research on. As I mentioned at the start of this video, for me, it was like throwing darts at a dartboard. I knew that no matter what project I landed on, whatever I was investing into, it was going to go up. And during a bull market, you're right. You're going to make money on these investments, but it's important to understand that if you're a long-term investor, you want to know what you're investing into from a project standpoint. What do they stand for? What does their team look like? Is it something that fits into what the future of our whole world is going to look like? And if they don't meet those three conditions, is it really worth your investing? Because if they don't meet those three criteria, you might want to think twice about throwing money into it. So this was a big lesson for me, and one that I'm going to carry with into the future, because ultimately you can't just throw your money at projects and be ignorant about it at all, because it doesn't matter if you're losing $50 or $100 or $1,000. That's money that you can put into a long-term project that ultimately you'll make money on in the long run, and it will help you achieve those financial goals that you have. So this was a really big lesson for me as well, is find out what you're investing into, and does it fit in with what you see going on long-term on this planet. And so I really wanted to share those three pieces of things that I've picked up through the start of this recession, because everybody wants to post videos about how they're winning all the time and how they're doing so great at investing. But part of investing is being humbled, is realizing that you don't know everything. And it's during those times of like what we're seeing right now that you get your most humbling lessons. But the biggest key is when you're getting these lessons, you don't quit. you simply learn the lesson and you take that information with you into your future investing so that ultimately you can gain more of what you're looking to achieve. So that's it. And I wanted to share this information with you guys because, as I mentioned, part of why I'm doing what I'm doing is to learn lessons, but also share these lessons with you so that you don't fall into the same traps that I just fell into. So if you did get value out of this video, give it a big thumbs up. And ultimately, if you are interested in learning more about the finance game, about what's going on in the industry, about some good investments that I'm looking at, and ultimately just tracking my journey along the way, make sure that you smash that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification. Other than that, have a fantastic rest of your day.